Yo, what up, Dr. McGee here? And I got something that I just got to get on here and talk about. Part of this is a pep talk. Part of this is just I came across something and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And it starts here. You want to be an administrator. Well, that's one thing. You want to be a leader. That's another thing. This is the time of the year where people want to become principals. They want to be in a seat. They want to run the school. They want to lead their community. They want to support their students in a way and have a voice and be an advocate for those that are in their care. Now, that's great. And we need leaders in the spaces. We also need administrators in the spaces. But what I want to share with you today is an article that I came across that really spoke to the nature at hand. It spoke to the situation at hand. And yes, I am excited about it. Yes, I think this level of clarity is absolutely perfect for where we are right now. Yes, this is so on time. So let me straighten up my bow tie, get myself together, and let's together dive in to this article that was written in March 2026. So a few months ago, and it happened to be on my birthday, and I happened to share this in a talk that I did with Carver STEM Academy just last week in Detroit Public Schools Community District. And Meagan Booth is the author of this, and I found this article in EDWEEK. Now, if you're not subscribed to EDWEEK, you need to get subscribed. I need to renew my subscription because I got one free article left, and so don't judge me when you see it. Let me take you there real quick. Here is the article. Listen, we are not preparing principals for the real job of school leadership. We're not doing it. So again, I'm showing you Meagan Booth already talked about it. She wrote about this in this opinion article when we're talking about school districts and what's happening. And as a principal leader, as a leader of principals, as a leader, a coach, a speaker, I'm telling you, we have to start thinking about this differently. Because if you think that the leadership position, the principal position, is just about, let me just, you know what? Let's break down the article. Let's just jump right into it. She starts off by saying when teachers decide they want to become principals, it is almost always with children in mind. That's how we're starting negotiations. And yes, when I became a principal, when I wanted to become a principal, it was with the students in mind. It was how to support them, encourage them, inspire them, protect them. And yes, that's what I got into it for. I also learned and understood and felt like my duty and responsibility as a leader was to also serve and support the staff, the teachers who are taking care of our most vulnerable population, our students. My job was to take care of them. I also knew that I had to take care of the community, the families. I had to be that person, that liaison. Moreover, I knew that I stood in between the board of the school board. I also stood as a liaison between the superintendent and the executive cabinet of the school district. So as the principal, I knew that there was a lift that was required of me to expand my care in a way that I really thought I processed and thought through. Now, she goes on in the article to talk about like why leaders want to go into the position, right? Like I just mentioned, sometimes they want to improve instruction. They want to support great teaching. They want to build a culture where students thrive. They imagine the high fives in the hallways, right? The handshakes, classroom walkthroughs, yes, pep rallies, assemblies, talking about literacy and growth and moving the school from point A to point B. I thought the same things. I wanted the same things. And that's the big part of the job, but it's not all of it. And then she hit us with this bombshell right here, right here, right here, right here. She says a shocking amount of school leadership is not about students. It's about adults. It's about the adults. A shocking amount. Listen, conflict, morale, ego, performance concerns, professional jealousy, resistance to change, documentation, confidentiality, rumors, burnout, and at some point in their career, most principals will face something more serious. A staff member who crosses a boundary, violates a policy, or makes a decision that lands in the news. Real stuff. Real stuff. Real things that happen on a daily basis in a school when you are the leader. Oftentimes you're not exposed to that. The public, the teachers, the staff, the community, the students, they're not oftentimes privy to those conversations, those situations, those things that undergird the culture. They're not privy to that. And we don't think about that when we think about moving to the seat, moving into administration, leadership. They're different, but they occupy the same space. Oftentimes we don't think about that when we move to the seat, but this article is really uncovering what it's like to be a school leader, the weight of that seat. It's heavy. And I know because I've done it. And I've experienced it. These things aren't necessarily brought up in those brochures about principalships, not on the website. You often hear about it, if you hear about it after the fact. So she goes on to say, preparation programs still center the technical aspects of schooling, the things we talked about, data analysis, curriculum coherence, observation protocol, strategic planning. All those things are important, but rarely do programs dwell long enough on the reality that much of the principal's authority is, like I've already said, behind closed doors. It's about conversations about adult behavior. This article is fascinating because we have to start thinking about the different ways in which we have to lead, especially in 2026. We have to start thinking differently about how we lead, and we have to start thinking about people from a different vantage point. This is why the flight assessment is so important, because the behaviors of people oftentimes creates the culture, it impacts the culture, the experience, and the outcomes in schools, in families, and in communities. So if you have not taken the flight assessment and started to examine your own behavior in your realm of control in any of those three areas that I just mentioned, school, families, communities, you might want to consider what you have to do to take it and assess it. If you are an aspiring leader, the biggest thing that you can do right now to prepare yourself for the next level of leadership is to become highly self-aware. Start looking at your preferences. Start looking at your behaviors. Start looking at your decisions. Start looking at your interactions with people and what's working and what's not working. Because it all funnels into the concepts, actions of how you lead. What's your preference? How do you decide to behave? That's what this is about. And this is why I want to highlight this, because I absolutely did a whole meeting, a whole workshop with the staff, and this is part of what I offer, is diving down into the behaviors of students, parents, teachers, custodians, nutritional aides, public safety officers. It does not matter. But the most important analysis of behavior is you. Because you lead you. All right. What else she say in this article that caught me? Most of the stuff happens behind closed doors. We're not privy to it. Future principals need structured learning on conflict dynamics, defensiveness, identity threat, and how professionals respond to feedback. They need to understand why competent adults resist change and how to move a team forward without escalating tension. Come on, Meagan Booth. Meagan Booth got some skin in the game. She's been in education for more than 20 years. She's done this stuff before. And she's saying the things that I don't hear a ton of people saying. So how do we start preparing our principals for these roles? This is the work that I'm choosing to do. How do we talk about conflict? How do we talk about defensiveness? How do we talk about identity threat? Man, I remember just having the education that I have, and I didn't understand this, having a doctorate degree, being innovative, thinking about things differently, intimidated. I was intimidating to people. I didn't know this until a colleague brought it to my attention. It was in a blind spot for me. I didn't realize that I was looked at as intimidating. Not that I was intimidating. People saw me as intimidating because of simply because of my degree. That's it. My position of authority. We have to start navigating through these things. And if those who are seasoned and you've been in a classroom for 25, 30 years, and you want to move into leadership, there's a ton of young individuals who are in classrooms right now who are aspiring leaders, and they have a millennial mindset. They have a zennial mindset. They think differently. They act differently. They receive information differently. You got some boomers who are still in the seats, in the classrooms, department leads. And you might be a younger administrator, a younger leader, and you have to interact with them with your innovative thinking. How do you connect? This is the work that I do, www.drjmcgee.com. Man, get in there, connect with me if you want to be able to start navigating these nuances of educational leadership in the K-12 spaces. Quite frankly, in the K-16 spaces, higher ed, industry, boards, school boards, you're having the same tension. It looks and feels the same because that's what we are in leadership. That's what we are in leadership. What else? Is there anything else in here that I want to highlight before we get out of here? I loved how she talked about what needs to happen in order to start making the shift. We have to have an overhaul in our experiences. Now, you can't have potential aspiring rising leaders really sitting in on feedback conversations or confidentiality meetings. They can't really sit in those spaces, but we have to be able to create role play like experiences that are rigorous enough to demonstrate the power or the the gravity of what can happen in real time. Because like Meagan Booth highlighted, she highlighted this right in the article where she talked about how the first time that a principal or a leader actually deals with the heavy situation is when it actually matters. Right? Because of confidentiality laws and union contracts, they cannot sit in on these conversations. They can be engaged in strategic planning that precedes them. They can participate in high stakes role play, and debrief deeply with mentor principals once the doors open again. They can do that. We need to do that work. And so for those assistant principals that are in the building, those deans that are in the building, these are the conversations as a principal to help grow them. Invite them in. Don't be the gatekeeper of what school leadership really is and really looks like. Don't do that. Don't be that principal. I'm going to say that again. Don't be the gatekeeper of what principal leadership looks like. Bring them in, teach them, show them. That was one of the best things that I received when I was an assistant principal. Before I took my place in leadership, I was invited to certain meetings to watch the debrief, to understand the feedback that happened. After action conversations were so strong. And it helped prepare me to give me a perspective and a vantage point of what it looks like as a leader if I was so fortunate to rise to the occasion and become a responsible leader in schools. At the end of the day, she talks about if we're serious about strengthening schools, we have to be honest about the full scope of the job. We can't just talk about data, curriculum, instruction. We can't just talk about that. We have to have those hard conversations too. Students deserve principals who are ready for all of it. Not just inspiring instruction, but leading adults as well. They deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. And for principal preparation programs, associations, certificate bearing programs, whatever that looks like in your school district or state, students deserve to have leaders in front of them that have a multitude of experiences to lead this work. My name is Dr. Jason McGee, and one way to do this is to start focusing on yourself. Be selfish and take this leadership to heart and lead from as many angles as possible. We have to stop thinking primarily as administrators. We got to start thinking like leaders. And when you are a leader, you are leading people, systems, communities to become even greater. And what does that take? It takes you being able to know who you are as a leader, know how you behave, know what your preferences are, and then leveraging your strengths while simultaneously acknowledging your limitations, your blind spots, your challenges. What type of leader are you? Who do you want to be? You don't know? Call me, contact me, email me, www.drjmcgee.com. You need a speaker, you need a coach, you need somebody who's done it, who's passionate about the position, and who's passionate about supporting those who are in the position. Then we need to have a conversation because the school year is ending. And guess what? If you are a principal like I know you are, if you're a leader like I know you are, you're already thinking about next year. Especially after July 4th. July 5th, you're already into next school year. I already know. I know how this works. So start landing the plane on your school year. wrapping things up, but also keeping your eye on the vision, the goal, the mission of what needs to happen and what support you might need. Let's do this magnanimously. All right, I love you. Let's make it a great day. This is in and of itself is a pep talk. Don't go into this position with false pretenses, and don't bring people to the position or lead them to the position without showing them, teaching them, and growing them. This is what magnanimous leadership is all about. All right? Make it a great day. I'll catch you on the flip side.